So this little guy is actually the whole reason why I even started contemplating reviewing lights in the first place. A lot of people would ask me, what light do I use during my reviews, during my filming? And I got tired of really just responding to it. So I decided, hey, let me throw this out there and give it a shot. Now, the whole reason why I didn't start off with this video was simply because I had some new lights and I wanted to play with them. A kid with toys, you can't help but just want to get at them first. Now, unfortunately, I've had this light for about a year and a half, and as a result, the box is long since gone. There's no reason for me to keep a box for a $70 light that I never, ever, ever plan on selling. Now, as opposed to the Mini Valkyrie 2 that I just reviewed, which I have right here for comparison's sake, this one, the Mini Valkyrie, is only 400 lumen as opposed to the Valkyrie 2, which is 600 lumen. I had actually bought these both at the same time because I wasn't too sure which brightness would work better for my reviews. I did a lot of testing between these two, and I came to find out that the 400 lumens from the Mini Valkyrie was just perfect as that balance between bright enough to illuminate what I was trying to look at, but not so bright that it washes out my reticle and or my red dot. And thus, this has been on my review rig ever since. Just like the Mini Valkyrie 2, it's got the same great features, that magnet charging station, and the quick release on the side. So when I'm done filming, I clip this off, plug it in over here on my desk, it charges up in a couple minutes, I throw it back on, and I'm good to go. And just like the Mini Valkyrie 2, same controls in the back, press and hold for momentary, come off, it shuts off, or push to turn on, push to turn off. It's as simple as that. Now this thing is fairly lightweight. It tops the scales at about 2.2 ounces. Now, just for comparison's sake, the Mini Valkyrie 2 comes in at about 2.6 ounces. So really not that much heavier. What's going to be better for you as far as lumen-wise? If you're going to be focusing on much closer areas, you're not looking to blind yourself or too many other people, the 400 lumens is probably perfect. But the 600 lumens of this is just impressive. But this is not a comparison video. No, this is just a showcase video of showing you the light that I use on my rig. And with that, let's go over some footage of me using this. All right, here we are with the Olight PL Mini Valkyrie. This is my workhorse of a light that I've used on every review for the last year and a half or so. Before that was a different light, which I'm sure I'll touch on sooner or later, but here it is, 400 lumens at about 33 yards. And you can clearly see it does do its job of illuminating. Just like with the Mini Valkyrie 2, it does appear like it's hitting the ceiling a fair bit. You can see right up here. So I know for a fact that this thing has a fairly wide pattern to it with a pretty soft hot spot, but we'll check that out as we get closer. Let's bump it up to about 15 yards. Moving forward to about 15 yards or so, let's see how this pattern looks. So hot spot is still pretty wide, right to about there, and it's still illuminating basically everything else in frame. Not necessarily a bad thing, just something you have to be mindful about. All right, let's set this to about 5 yards. Roughly 5 yards away, and let's take a look at this pattern. Just like the Mini Valkyrie 2, it's got a pretty focused hot spot at about 5 yards. And again, it's illuminating a lot of the wall. Go into momentary mode here, which is just press and hold. And as you can see, basically corner to corner of the frame is being illuminated right now. Now, the one reason why this works for me in my reviews of certain red dots and LPVOs and whatnot is because the hotspot is not that bright. It's only about 400 lumens, which for me works well. And for my findings with trying to record red dots and LPVOs of certain kinds at closer distances, this is the sweet spot as far as illumination goes. To the naked eye, you can go obviously a little bit brighter with the light. However, you just have to increase the brightness of your red dot or your LPVO to really pick it up. But now, let's see what this light looks like from the other side. Starting at the hotspot, we're going to walk to one side, and you'll know immediately when we get out of it, right around there. So, it's a pretty wide pattern, and it is bright enough to be disorienting. Keep in mind, 400 lumens is not that dull. Here, right now, it is blinding. If you walked in on somebody and you had this light on and you made damn sure that the hotspot was on them, they're not going to be able to see much of anything. In fact, the only reason why I can go back and forth as calmly as I can is because I'm looking at through the camera and it isn't that disorienting. So we know how this light looks at about 33 yards in a fairly bright environment. what happens when we get into a darker environment like we are at about now. So here, right off the bat, you can see the difference between this light and the Mini Valkyrie 2 and the Baldur Pro. This camera is basically in fixed setting modes. This way, everything that you are going to be seeing is consistent from this flashlight to the last one I ever review. The reason for that is you'll get a greater sense of just how bright all these lights are. Now, just like the Mini Valkyrie 2, the bright spot is still clearly visible, and it makes for sighting in with it fairly quick. The bleed out is all over the place, again, but is that really a bad thing? For me and my use of this light, I have absolutely no problems with it. Again, bucket of water, watch for time, and an old shirt as a drying cloth. Got our little PL Mini Valkyrie here, and we're just going to throw this in water for a couple minutes and see if it'll still work afterwards. I know this is not really crazy, but I don't feel like destroying these to the point where they completely don't work, but maybe I will one day, just to see how tough these things really are. So, as you can see, it works perfectly fine. We're going to throw it in for about 5 minutes and come back and see if it still works. So a little bit over 5 minutes, we're going to pull the Mini out, dry it off. I'm not going to take it out of frame in case someone out there wants to think that I swapped it for another one. And no surprise there, it still works. This is my go-to light for all of my reviews because, again, for whatever reason, just the lumen rating on this just works perfectly on capturing everything. And it's, in my opinion, one of the perfect little weapon lights for a pistol, or in my case, a 9mm carbine that this goes on. Now, these are regularly about $80, but you can get these on sale for much cheaper than that. I think it offers a hell of a lot of value. Just the quick charging base alone is worth it. But there you go, the PL Mini Valkyrie by Olight. Money well spent. Thank you very much for watching. See you again next time. And a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you, this wouldn't be possible.